Welcome back, everybody, to Chelsea Speaks. Today, in this new episode, we are in the art room in Youth Elemento. Okay, let's recap a little bit about last episode. We talked about a little bit of grief with Christina and the expert, Maria. But now we have a new guest today with us. He's part of the team too. We met him in the first episode. Michael, how are you, man?
Doing good. I'm really glad to be here with you guys.
It's good. It's good to know.
It's great to hear. Thank you for coming and sharing your story. I just wanted to mention previously we were in the music room. And once again, my name is Kiara and I'm your other host.
Okay, everybody, let's start.
Okay, Michael, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So my name is Michael Reyes. I work here at Youth Elemento as a peer mentor and a recovery navigator. It's an awesome job. I just turned 32. I was born in Cambridge, and I spent most of my adult life in and around the Boston area. For a time, I was even living here in Chelsea myself. I'm a child of immigrants. Both my parents immigrated to this country in the 80s from El Salvador to escape the civil war that was happening at the time. I'm the youngest of four, and I was the first person in my family to go to college in this country. So it was kind of a big deal for kind of me and my family.
When was the first time that you were introduced to alcohol?
Great question. Yeah, so for me, my earliest memory of alcohol actually comes from when I was a child. I didn't know this at the time, but my father was actually an addict.
Oh, wow.
He was an alcoholic, and his struggles with addiction led him to be very financially responsible when I was really young. That just put a huge unrealistic burden on my mother. There was four of us. Like I said, I'm the youngest of four, so they had four kids at home.
Wow.
And because of that, my mom ended up having to leave him, and that just broke my family apart. I was really young still. I was 3 or 4 at the time, and it was pretty devastating for me. And it wasn't until I got older where I really was able to realize all the ripple effects that moment had on the rest of my life. In terms of me trying alcohol, I think for the first time, I was maybe in middle school.
Wow, that was so young.
Probably at like a family function. And even in high school, I had, remember having drinks a couple times. But at that point in my life, I wasn't really into it as much. I didn't really connect with it. I was like, this is kind of gross. I'm not really into it.
Did you kind of stray away from it because of the experience you had with your father or knowing it as you got older?
Great question. Yeah. So both with alcohol and another substance that we'll mention here in a second, knowing that my father was an addict, I think growing up, especially in those like middle school, early high school years, it actually helped me to stay away from a lot of that stuff. I didn't want to repeat my father's mistakes. I also played sports for a lot of my life, and that kept me away from kind of some of those substances. When you're out there running on the field, it's
it's
a different vibe, right?
Yeah, you don't feel it anymore.
Yeah. I tried it at that time, but it wasn't until I was a bit older, 17, 18, where I think I started drinking more heavily.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The first time I remember trying weed was the summer right before my senior year of high school.
Wow.
My best friend growing up had been smoking for a while. Even at that point, he had probably started smoking, probably before he got to high school, if I'm being honest with you.
Wow.
Damn, he was zooted all the time?
Jesus.
But I think that's the reality of being an adult in urban cities and in these communities.
I've seen kids go to school like zooted every day.
I'm sure you guys even right now, you see it all the time at school, right?
I mean, that's kind of like the big influence, like being in high school
It's substance use, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about the alcohol? Did this change when you were going into college?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. Yeah, so it's funny. I think both alcohol and weed helped me for different reasons, but it's not a surprise that I started using them both more heavily around the same time.
Okay.
So it wasn't recreational at that point?
Wait.
Well, it's funny. I at the time, I always viewed it as recreational.
Okay,
even up until my mid-20s, I always viewed my substance use as recreational.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't until it was like I was late at a later point in my life where I was able to like reflect on some of the challenges that I was having, where I was like, I think I might need to take a step back here and just like think about like what recreational means to me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Kind of like it's a fine balance there, and I think that's particularly around substance use with alcohol and weed. Like it's just so normalized and accessible.
Yeah.
It's like so social and normalized, like I said, and so.
Well, I'm glad you cleared that up. I just wanted to know. Were there any any other challenges that you were facing in high school?
So fast forwarding back up to high school, my family's broken and incomplete. People in my life are dying. Things at home are really scary. Last piece on high school, halfway through my senior year, things got a little harder. My mom, my brother, and I ended up becoming homeless.
Oh.
Wow.
And so as I was applying to colleges, I actually had to use my high school's address as the record on file for all these schools.
Oh, really?
To be able to get my admission letters back in.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I mean.
It's
like
a little
I was
common,
just going
yeah.
I was just like going through like okay, the housing insecurity, like fortunately I was able to live with my best friend. They had a spare room at the time to like hold some sense of normal.
When you like realized in that moment when you was in college that
Yeah.
the using of those substances was an issue.
Really, really hard time in college. I went to a private school. I felt so different from everyone else that went there. They didn't understand me. They didn't get me.
Yeah.
So I was able to find my niche and find some friends and stuff, but I just really struggled. And during my first semester in college, my real father reached back out to me for the first time in 12 years, trying to reconnect, trying to like make ends meet. And I just wasn't at a point in my life where I was ready for that. There was a point where I think I might have forgiven him for abandoning me, but I haven't forgiven him for what he did to my family. And that made it really hard to like want to do anything with him. A few weeks after that, my stepfather, who I kind of mentioned in high school, me and my mom and brother became homeless. My mom remarried, had a stepfather.
Okay.
Just as I was graduating high school, our stepfather and my mom were like breaking up, so he ended up kicking us out, which is why we all became homeless and had housing insecurity at that time.
I mean, it makes
God.
sense.
So my first year of college, he actually died of an overdose on prescription drugs.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I was really already struggling with how to feel about him, just with everything that happened with him and my mom. And a few months before he had OD'd, he had reached out to me, wanting to like apologize and try to like reconnect with things. And I'm not gonna lie, like, again, going back to my anger,
You weren't ready.
I was
Yeah.
so angry and wasn't ready for that. And this is one of the things that kind of led to my own self-destruction at the time. I realized what guilt was. And
Okay.
my brain and my emotions tricked me and like almost like forced me and guided me to believe that what happened to him was my fault.
Wow.
That if I had accepted his invitation, that if I had, gone out to meet with him and try to like make amends with him, that like that wouldn't happen to him. And that's like a recurring thing as like harder things happened in my life, like down the road. I just found ways to like put all this like burden and guilt on myself. And I think that's where some of the other substance use really kind of came into play.
What helped you to like, stop using those substances?
It wasn't until I kind of reached my rock bottom, where within a 3-year window in my mid-20s, both my father and my best friend, who I had mentioned throughout kind of this whole podcast,
Yeah.
they actually both passed away in a 3-year window.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't until my father had passed when I decided to start drinking less, and it wasn't until my best friend had passed that I just started to start
okay.
smoking less. When my best friend had passed away, it just became too emotional to keep smoking. Like so much of,
It
smoking
felt like a
remind-
you and him thing. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was. Like
I'm so
he-
sorry for your loss.
I'm really
yeah.
sorry for that.
He was like the first person I did with it. Like
Yeah.
even when I got back home from college and we started working together, we had an apartment together. Like we spent a lot of our early 20s together, and that's like a lot of the bonding that we had at that time. And so
Like-
when he passed away, it just became too hard really to keep smoking.
Yeah, like
And the challenging part there was that at the time of both their deaths, I was just working a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned, when I got back from college, I started working in the restaurant industry. I did that for like 12 years. Everything from bussing tables to barbecking to serving to managing events and creating beverage
It was a lot.
cocktails. I was in survival mode.
What advice would you give to people who are also struggling with the same issue with substance use and who probably are sharing a similar story with you?
Don't compare your traumas and challenges to others.
yeah.
I
know,
definitely agree.
We're all at
Yeah,
different
true.
stages of recovery, and just because people go through things that you think might be harder or more severe than you doesn't mean your challenges in your life aren't real and aren't valid. Things are always going to be happening, and it's not productive for you to compare kind of where you're at with other people. Just kind of focus on your own journey through that, right? And try to get the support you need.
Thank you for sharing your story and being vulnerable enough to tell us this. And I hope viewers at home also feel the same way if they're going through something like this, or they can relate. I mean, a lot of us can relate. We live in an urban city where we're surrounded by substances, so once again, thank you so much
Thank you guys for having me. You guys are
Yeah,
great.
of course. Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Michael.
much for sharing your story.
Yeah.
You're really brave to sharing all the path that you've been through.
We'll be taking in a short break, and we'll be introducing our expert. She's a clinician, and we can't wait to come back. All right, welcome back to Chelsea Speaks. We have our expert here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Mi nombre es Glimar Rodríguez Parrilla. Soy una trabajadora social clínica que se especializa en salud mental y en recuperación de sustancias.
Period. We're so excited to have you here.
Muchas gracias por estar aquí. En realidad es un placer tenerte acá en el programa. Y pues honestamente tengo mucha intriga acerca de qué es tu trabajo y qué es lo que haces. Entonces cuéntanos un poquito acerca de ti.
Claro, yo pues como mencioné soy una trabajadora social clínica, me enfoco en apoyar a personas que están en recuperación, ya sea de sustancias o salud mental. Soy una persona que también estoy en recuperación y tú sabes, soy muy apasionada de lo que hago. Me encanta genuinamente conectar con las personas por medio de mi historia, pero también por medio pues de mi experiencia profesional clínica.
Y se nota la pasión en tu voz.
Sí.
Se
Yeah,
nota.
that's amazing to hear. Do you think substance use is connected back in a way to mental health?
Sí. Hay muchas razones por las que alguien desarrolla una adicción al alcohol, las drogas, o al trabajo, o a chocolates, o a cualquier cosa, ¿verdad? Y muchas veces la adicción es un síntoma de un problema de salud mental.
Wow.
A veces, y no te estoy diciendo que es todos los casos, pero
In just some cases.
en conexión a la salud mental, es una manera que la persona está sobreviviendo esa experiencia interna. It's really hard. O sea, yo como una persona en recuperación también tuve expuesta a las sustancias por mi propia depresión y tristeza.
Does it stem from trauma?
Sí. Sí, pero ese no es el caso con todo el mundo.
Yeah, that's true.
¿Sabe? Las drogas y el alcohol tienen un efecto tan poderoso que una persona puede ser expuesta a ellas y por la naturaleza de dependencia, inmediatamente la persona se pone adicta por varias razones. Genética, el ambiente. Sí, hay una conexión a la salud mental. A veces las sustancias se utilizan para automedicarse, para ayudar esa tormenta interna, como quien dice, para ayudar a sobrellevarla. A veces la utilizamos como una solución a un problema que no sabemos gestionar.
Wow, that's a lot. And thank you for that insight. As well, like diving into that topic, what if somebody has already understood and taken that step to acknowledge that they need to get away from that substance? Like, how could we support them?
Yo creo que the first step is seeing what are they willing to do.
Okay.
¿Qué ellos están listos para hacer? A veces las personas están listos para hacer un cambio de vida, pero no están listos para dejar de utilizar. So, en realidad, uno tiene que coger un paso a la vez. Pero para ciertas personas, el riesgo a su vida es tan alto que es necesario abstenerse completamente. So, la recuperación y los pasos a la recuperación varían de persona en persona.
What you mentioned is also that the family is also a good pillar to like also help the person, you know.
Let it be family, chosen family, natural supports, or friends and caregivers.
I know you talked about judgment, and I wanted to ask, I wrote it down. What advice for young adults and families do you have who may need that extra support?
Go online. There's so many resources online, like calling 988, like the MA helpline. There's so much information out there. Talk about it with a teacher, with the school counselor, because as soon as those sentences come out within a safe space, you're going to get immediately
Like
the
relief.
resources needed and relief, and that will not stay in the dark. Shame and guilt will not thrive there. and especially with youth, like, please take advantage that you have peer opportunities, that you have peer safe spaces, because there's nothing better than benefit from that visibility and feeling seen and supported, because of my culture and in my life, I had to stay hidden for so long, and I had to white knuckle it. And right, we talked about like the history of substance and mental health. So like, that's just really, if you take anything out of this conversation, is just remember what lives in the dark and remember what lives in the light, you know?
I definitely took away sometimes all you need to do is just be there for the person. And thank you so much for sharing your story, a little bit of it, and as well just giving us your insight, you know, letting us peek a little bit into your mind and how it works.
I feel honored to be in this space. And
we're
thank
honored.
you so much.
Thank you for taking your time. I know you were busy today.
Yeah. And now we have another guest, the man, the myth, the figure, Max. I'm sorry, guys, I have to make it.
What's up, y'all?
He's a really famous person here in this place. And as you know, if you see this wall right here, that was his work. So let's start talking about a little bit about you, Max. Why don't you introduce yourself, man?
All right, so for the people who don't know me, my name is Max. Some people call me Max Pro.
Sir.
I'm an artist, and I use art as a healthy outlet. And I'm basically, for the last 6 years, been an independent mental health advocate. And when people ask me, what's my connection with the arts and mental health, it's because, it's personal. I was one of the people who used to struggle with, like, really wanting to be here. And, like, fortunately, I'm, like, in a better place in life. And while I'm here, I'm just trying to play my part and give back to the community and help people find a healthy outlet through the arts. And, just remind them that, that you're not alone, even when you feel alone, that a lot of us have these feelings and intrusive thoughts.
How you relate that with also mental health? So let's start with how do you relate that art with substance use?
How do I relate the art with substance abuse, like coping with it?
Yeah.
All right. So when I think about like coping with it and using art, the first thing I think about is like I often think about like how like our brains work, right? And how some of us are just trained to like think of worst case scenarios, to like always think about how something can go wrong. And this all starts with trauma. But we think about like how things could go bad, and we use it to like prevent things to prevent the bad things from happening. And it sounds like it's okay, that we have all these different perspectives and like these different like this ability to like have a glimpse into like alternate realities and like choose which one is like is more beneficial for ourselves, right?
The multiverse of intrusive thoughts, as I said.
And it could be so exhausting, and it takes its toll on you when you're like constantly thinking this way, and then you see that it's not only exhausting on ourselves, but it becomes exhausting for the people around us, like the people that we care about and the people who care about us. And I think that like this combination of like becoming mentally exhausted and seeing the effect that we're having on people could trigger this desire for escape. And often that escape is, substance use or even substance abuse. And so it becomes like an excuse or comment, but eventually we have to realize that this is our life, man, and we have to evolve, and we have to like take responsibility of it and start making these changes to remove ourselves from like toxic environments and implement ourselves into like more productive and successful behaviors.
It sounds good. I mean, honestly, the art is like a good outlet to get out.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, for me, in my personal experience, I use music, to get out what I feel.
It's a form of art.
Yeah, and you're very good.
The stigma that is going through mental health. And I don't know if you been feeling surrounded about those stigmas during your life.
All right, so the thing with the stigma is, right, like I've been doing this for, like, being an advocate for like the last
You've been
6
in the
years,
game
right?
for a while.
Yeah, I mean, like I've always struggled with mental health, but like for the last 6 years, I've actually been doing something about it, not only for myself and others. And I feel like for the last couple of years, I'm seeing a lot of people and a lot of businesses say mental health, mental health, and you know, like it's great, but I also kind of wonder like which organizations are being sincere, and then which ones are just using the title for like self gain. So you know, like we have to. It's just one of those things. Like I said, you know, you think about worst case scenarios, and I just wonder like which people are genuine about this stuff, you know. I just think that like my advice to the youth would be, you know, just remember that you guys are all in this world together, man. We're all in the same boat, and create a unity within each other, you know, like, to create like a safe haven of having healthy outlets, and you know, having control of the decisions you make, you know. And I think those kind of things will help us like develop into the best version of ourselves, and also not fall into habits that are gonna be self-destructive. Well, not only self-destructive, but like destructive to the people who care about us.
True. Before you go, I just wanted to promote you that where we can find your work, your art.
Before I promote myself, I just want to say that, you know, I always have like an appreciation for people who take steps. Like when I was younger, I didn't have like the guidance to be able to do what I'm doing for like the youth in the community now. And so for the people who are actually doing something with their life, like I commend them, man, and I congratulate them. I talked about how, and if it wasn't for, you know, my partner Amanda, like I would never be taking these steps to actually, you know, have this feeling of success, which, you know, helps me be the best version of myself. And with me being able to do this, I've been able to like, I'm saying like surrounding yourself with positive and productive people helps you get to where you need to be in life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And without having those positive, productive people, I would have never met people like, or interviewed people like Jim Lee or Bob Lied, and the guy who created New Mutants, you know, Rick Leonardi, who created Spider-Man 2099, Keith Williams.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Guy Agostini, the guy who plays the voice of Sunspot in X-Men 97.
Oh, really?
Larry Houston, the director of
Damn,
X-Men
bro, you
97.
be meaning everybody.
I've met like, yo, I'm telling you, like the reason why I'm able to do that is because I'm not sitting in a toxic relationship where somebody says you can't do this and you can't do that. Like that's what I was saying earlier about like we have to take responsibility from our lives and like just remove ourselves from those toxic environments. And then one more person I want to give a shout out to is, you know, Claire Crean. She's a local artist who illustrated her own book.
Oh.
And it's about a jazz fox. And I just think that like when I see people, especially like who are so close to us, you know, like making this progress with their life, man, I just want to, you know, tilt my hat to them and tell them congratulations.
I just want to like people know where they can find. Also, as you said, you find inspiration in a lot of those people, and I know maybe if people see your art,
Right.
they're gonna also get inspiration from you.
Yeah.
So I just want people know where they can find you, your social media, your art.
So first things first, like I like you say that like I inspire people, but you know you guys also inspire me. You know, one hand washes the other, man, and
Thank you.
I think that we're all doing and playing our part to like make this community a little better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we might not be able to reach everybody, but we don't have to. We just have to reach certain people and who are like us, and when they'll do the same thing, they'll reach out and help people have like a healthy and productive outlet too. And if you wanted to see some of my art, like a week ago, I would have told you about the gallery at City Hall, which was the largest scale gallery in City Hall history, which is like something that I'm really proud
Damn,
of.
how many works did you have?
No, and by the way,
How
that
many
was
what?
Like, how many works of art did you have?
No, I mean, there wasn't like, it wasn't about like quantity. It was about
quality.
Yeah, quality. And
The
these things were,
quality.
like really, really big canvases.
Wow.
by the way, was amazing.
Were they
Yeah.
bigger than that one canvas?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were 48 by 60 inches. So
How long did that take?
honestly, man, like I have fun with it. So probably each one took me like 2 nights each, and that's basically me going in one night and then finishing up the next. But if you want to see some of my work now, you could go to like Somerville. If you're familiar with Somerville, the Broadway and premiere, I did a huge mural with like Freddie Mercury, Marilyn Monroe, James
Oh, wow.
Dean.
Wow.
Yo, I actually wanna see that.
Yeah, you should
yeah,
check
me
it
too.
out. If you do take pictures,
Yeah,
tag
yeah.
me, right? On Division Street, there's a couple murals. I have a gallery at Western Front Dispensary, the Trinity Dispensary, Kushala Sip Cafe. Louis Latimer Society has some of my work. I did a couple murals at Chelsea Public Library. Huge project at Revive Community Church, Polish Club, the CBC. The CBC in Chelsea has some of my artwork there. But a lot of it is just chilling, sitting at my art studio. So
I mean, as long as you have fun and you can cope through it, then.
I am having fun, man, and I think that's one thing I appreciate about art is being able to have fun and use it as a me time.
I'm glad you found that for
Yeah,
yourself.
for sure. And any social media that you want to like also
Social media
shout
on
out?
Instagram, you can find me on all planets. It's all_planets. And yeah, with that you can see the website is there and the Gmail.
So thank you so much to be here, and
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you
Sure.
for your time.
and thank you for telling us your story and everything. Is really helpful for every single people that is also listen to us. So thank you, man. Thank you,
Yeah,
man.
happy to be here.
All right.
This is Chelsea Speaks.
All right, bye.